So one of the reasons that we bring people from Chicago to Mexico is that we want them to have the real experience of Mexico. And I don't mean the tourist experience of Mexico. I mean the real honest to God experience of Mexico. The things that always excited me for 40 years, I want to give to our staff so that then they can share it with you guys. So today we've brought a chunk of our management staff here to a small village in the state of Puebla to make mezcal with a maestro mezcalero, with a master distiller. And what you see right behind me here is his still. Okay, so it's the type that they would call a Filipino still, which means that there is a big clay vessel underneath here. Of course, the fire is underneath that, boiling all of the contents of that clay vessel that's there. And then they put this piece on the top that's made out of wood. And in that vessel of wood, there is a copper pot at the top. Constant circulation of water through the copper pot. On the outside, you get the boiling goodness coming up from inside. It condenses when it hits that copper pot, and then it goes out that spout on the side, goes through another condensing coil, and then it goes into this clay pot that's right over here. So when you look at all of this, I have to say that it looks so incredibly rustic that you can't imagine a refined product coming out of it. But I'm here to tell you, this is probably the most refined distillate I have ever tasted in my life. So what we did with our staff, we're finished with our day now, but what we did with our staff was to go through the whole making of this final distillation, what they call Pechuga, and instead of hanging a chicken breast, which gives the name of Pechuga to this kind of distillation, we hung in there venison, wild boar, armadillo, yes, armadillo, and crocodile, a chunk of crocodile. And so that made this final distillation super rich and creamy on your palate. And you know what we got to taste was, as this final distillation started, we tasted it when it first came out of the still, a couple of liters into it, a few more liters into that, and then finally at the very end of it, we could taste their final product balanced perfectly with just the right amount of tails, the final part of the distillation, to bring out sweetness. Now you can imagine this takes a long time to do. So what did we do in between? Well, we walked up the hillside here and we went to harvest some of what they call espadilla here. Now, the most commonly used agave for making mezcal is called espadin, and yet that is the more cultivated variety of the wild espadilla. So we got to see how you choose it, how you clean it, how you cut it, and how you bring it back here. We didn't get a chance to do any roasting of the agave hearts, but we did roast something else. We roasted all the rest of the meat that we didn't use for this distillation, which meant that we were having the venison and the wild boar and the crocodile and the armadillo. That was the one that I don't think I really tasted in all of this, but we made it barbacoa style in a pit. So you can see this pit that's right over here. And it was roasted with a whole lot of avocado leaves. It was roasted on the pencas of maguey. It was covered off with palm leaves and then buried in the ground for several hours. And it was with probably the most beautiful tomatillo salsa that I have ever tasted in my entire life, with wild cilantro, lots of wild cilantro. That's why we bring our staff here, so that we can bring some of that joy, some of that knowledge, some of the wonder of Mexico back to our restaurants in Chicago.